I'll kick off the process by just introducing Chun Fai. LO Chun Fai has been associated with Learn the Birds almost since the very beginning. As a student in Hong Kong, staying up all night to watch Learn the Birds. That's pretty cool. And we eventually roped them in to become one of the Learn the Birds team. And so tonight, and literally tonight for him, he's going to talk about birding in Hong Kong. Now, Chun Fai has just been on a number of birding trips in other parts of the world as well. So I'm sure he has lots of other interesting webinars to give to us in the future. But this one is about birding in his hometown of Hong Kong. And I am not going to introduce you any further than that. Chun Fai, you can introduce yourself. I will hand over to you. And thanks very much for doing this in the middle of your night.
Hey, thank you, Derek, for giving me a chance for present the birding in Hong Kong. A very short introduction of mine. I'm a now is still a political assistant in Hong Kong for helping the counselors. But my background degree is studying biology, and I'm also come from a master with environmental science, and I'm now a social science master student. I've started bird watching since secondary school, so nearly 16 years for me to bird in Hong Kong. So tonight I will give you some more info about birding in Hong Kong, like what species we can find here and where we can bird in Hong Kong. As you can see, there are many different kinds of birds in the cover. For example, the Dorian redstart, the red-breasted flycatchers, the black-winged teal, maybe some you may be familiar with this species. And this one is a Chinese blue flycatchers, and at last, the Caspian tern. They can all be seen in Hong Kong. So where's Hong Kong? Hong Kong is, in fact, is a very small city in China, and it is a special administrative region in China. For now, we only have two special administrative regions in China. One is Hong Kong, and the other one is Macau, very close to each other. And this is very, very small city. It's around 1,000 square kilometers, so you can see it's just a tiny dot in the map. And this is the whole pictures, the map in Hong Kong. This is the new territories, and this is the Kowloon Peninsula, and this is the Hong Kong Island, and the largest island should be the Lantau Island. If you come to Hong Kong, you will land in the international airport in Chek Lap Kok next to the Lantau Island. There are many places you can bird in Hong Kong Island, Lantau Island, and I will introduce furthermore. For us, the population is around 7.4 million, so quite a dense city to me. And our climate is quite distinct. We have winter, we have autumn, summer, and spring. But nowadays, the summer is really, really very hot. For example, today is around 35 degrees here, even in September. And for the birds in Hong Kong, it's major, the birds in Palearctic geographical zone. And maybe you can see here, you can find the thrush, you can find the warblers, but it's very hard for you to find the barbets in the Oriental region, like in Singapore, and not many woodpeckers here, and not many sunbirds here, but you can find different other species. For now, we have around 600 species in Hong Kong, and according to the eBird record I just checked yesterday, it's around 573. But as you may know, there is no endemic species in Hong Kong because such a small, tiny places. So most of the birds here are migrants, and we have around 30% or 40% the birds in Hong Kong are residents or summer breeders. This is a small Nitava, a male one, very beautiful in color, with blue, but the female is much dull, brown in color, and this is a winter visitors in Hong Kong. So I will introduce what birds you can find in different seasons. First, let me start from winter. In December to February, you can always see the winter migrants, like some ducks, some gulls. If you are lucky, for recent year, there are many Oriental stork, which is an endangered species. And some of you may want to come to Hong Kong to find the black-faced spoonbill, which is an endangered species. And this is quite easy to find in winter. And some of them may also stay over the summer. And also some raptors, like the eagle, they come from the north of China. And also some beautiful bird like the black-capped kingfisher, the nitterfer just now, and another nitterfer, the Fujian nitterfer, and also some uh, robin, like the Japanese robin, ruby throat, and the red frank blue tail. For Japanese robin, it's quite not common, uncommon species, but you can find a few in winter in Hong Kong in the forest. To me, it's even easier to find a Japanese robin in Hong Kong than in Japan. I don't know why. And this is Siberian ruby throat. If you are an American birder, maybe you want to teach this one in mainland America or even in Alaska, but in Hong Kong, it's really, really very common in winter. You can hear their call in nearly everywhere in the countryside. Comparative, this is a blue throat, a male. You can see the color is blue. So it's also a common winter species here. And usually you can see in some open field area. And here's the black-faced spoonbill. When you go to the wetland in Hong Kong in winter time, you can always find some black-faced spoonbill. As you can see here, they always forage in a group, and they also roost in a group. I think this is the most, this should be the most commonest spoonbill in Hong Kong because we only have two species in spoonbill. The other one is the Eurasian spoonbill, which is less common than this black-faced spoonbill. It is an endangered species, and I think the number of black-faced spoonbill in Hong Kong is declining, but the global population is increasing. And this is in an adult Eastern Imperial Eagle, a little bit different from the Spanish Imperial Eagle. It can be only found in the eastern part compared to the European one. And in Hong Kong, you can see this species in new territories, like in Maple, I will introduce more later, and or other parts of the northern part of the new territories, northern part of Hong Kong. But usually you can only see it fly over, or sometimes they may just perch, but usually far for photos. In spring, you can see some more colorful birds usually, and especially they molt to the breeding plumage, like the flycatchers, the robins, and other waders. For example, some of you may want to see the spoon-billed sandpiper, the critically endangered species. And the Far Eastern curlew, an endangered species, the Norman screen shank, also endangered species. And in the sea, if you take a ferry or a boat trip to the open sea, you can see the Aleutian tern, Asian murrelet, and spring is also a good timing for the raptors migration. Sometimes you can see hundreds sparrowhawks or even thousands gray-faced buzzard migrating. And sometimes you can see the beater, and if you are lucky, you can see the fairy peter. And these threatened or vulnerable species and is very colorful. And these two are blue and white flycatchers. And these two are different subspecies, but you can see in a single place in Hong Kong during the spring. I took these photos in spring in Hong Kong too. And this is a fairy peter, very colorful, cute bird, like a thrush-sized bird, but usually secretive. And this one was taken in a very urbanized woodland, very close to our MTR station, and very tame peter. And this is the spoonbill sandpiper. You can see the bill is very strange for a wader, is spoon-shaped, and this is a critically endangered species. And usually you can see in spring, but unluckily, I think the recent 2 years, we don't have many records for the spoon-billed sandpiper. And you can see in spring, you can see the wet in the upper part. In wintertime, you can only see black and white birds. Then in summer, there are few species than other seasons, but you can always hear some summer breeders or residents, they sing here, so they can be more easier to be found in than in other seasons, like the Chinese francolin, some cuckoo, like lesser cuckoo, large hawk cuckoo, they are everywhere except the lesser cuckoo. And also the Chinese grassbird, a near endemic species, I think. And also the Highland blue flycatchers, another blue flycatcher, which is very, very common in summertime in Hong Kong. And also the speckled picolet is quite easy to find in summer than in other season, I think. I took this one just 2 months ago in Hong Kong here, and it's the best photo I can get in Hong Kong. It's a very, very small woodpecker, like maybe 10 cm long. Then the summertime is the best time for us to see the cuckoos here because they will sing and we can use playback to let them to come out like the chestnut wing cuckoo. But some for lesser cuckoo, they usually just fly around, not really perch nicely for photos. But you can always listen their call, their song. But to see one clearly, you need some luck, I think. Then this is a Chinese grassbird. And you can always find this in some special habitats, some kinds of bamboo. I'm not an expert for plants, but if you go to some high altitudes, find the right habitats, then you can always hear the call in summertime. Then just try to play back and try your luck. And this is a near endemic species, I think. In the past, some people said this species can be only found in Hong Kong or some parts in Guangdong and Guangxi in the southern China. But now I think this species can be found easily in Cambodia. I don't know whether it can be found in winter or whole year there. So I think this is a very beautiful bird. It is a, although it's called grass bird, I think this a belongs to the Barbara families. Yeah. Then in autumn, like now, we usually find for the passage migrants, like different owls, different terns, and usually we look for the LBJs, like the grasshopper warbler, and also some better look the passerine, like the air armor paradise flycatchers, year-round flycatchers. But usually in autumn, you can find the first winter birds or the juvenile birds we call, and but not the adult male. So usually if you see the armor paradise flycatcher, year-round flycatcher, they are quite dull in plumage and they don't have the long tail, the beautiful plumage. And this is the lanceolated warbler. And I took this in Central, a business zone in Hong Kong. So it's really strange to find one in that kind of habitat. Then another one is the Palliser's grasshopper warbler, very similar to the lanceolated warbler, but this one is more common and you can find it in, again, in many different kinds of habitat. I took this in a place called Tuffold Garden. I will introduce later. It's just right next to a shopping mall, a tiny patch of grass. Then you can see some in autumn there. Then the pheasant-tail jacana, like the flycatchers, like the paradise flycatchers, in autumn you can always see the long breeding plumage here. But somehow, maybe some birds are first winter and they are easier for us to take photos. So you can try to take some photos of the pheasant-tail jacana in flight or foraging very closely. Then the Palliser's bunting, this is also not an breeding plumage bird, so you can see only the black throat. But again, it's quite nice to photo some of these immature or female type bird. Then apart from the migrants, we also have some fragrance, and some of them you may know them very well, like the tree pipit. They migrate from the northern China, the Europe, accidentally to Hong Kong. And I think there were only 2 records so far for the tree pipits. And then the common cuckoo, you can't imagine common cuckoo is a vagrant in Hong Kong, and it's very hard to see one, especially when they don't call. So I think there are 2 to 3 records in Hong Kong for the common cuckoo. And I have read a paper about the underwing of the cuckoo to separate from the oriental cuckoo, another species very similar to the common cuckoo. So that time, I tried to take the underwing for the common cuckoo in and taken this photo in my pole in summer. Then this is the recent fragrance in Hong Kong just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. This is a silver oriole, an endangered species. The wintering ground for this bird is assumed to be maybe Cambodia, Vietnam, the Southeast Asia, and it is an endemic breeder in mainland China. And maybe they breed in Hong Kong, who knows? But because of the um, very very limited data for this silver oriole, I think this is an endangered species now. Then the steppe eagle, I think is very common in Africa in wintertime. For us, we only have 2 records here, and both of them are juvenile. So compared to the all black steppe eagle, this one may be more beautiful for the sandy plumage. And this one was the second record in Hong Kong, and this bird is very cooperative. You can take very good photos for this steppe eagle. And it is flourishing just next to a fish pond for dead fish, wishing. And maybe you will ask why birding in Hong Kong. I can tell you that is because Hong Kong is really convenient. Yeah, you can see this is our train system. We call it the MTR. The stations are everywhere. You can go to the birding spots just by MTR. And the food here is always good. You can enjoy different cuisine in Hong Kong, like maybe Japanese, Indonesia, Singaporean, or even you can taste the African cuisine or even the American food here, and always very cheap price compared to in maybe in Japan or in America. And the accommodation, the hotels are really good. You can try the 5 stars hotel while you just went to bird watching in the morning. I don't think you can do this in other places in the world. Maybe, for example, in Indonesia, you always stay in the jungle for bird watching. You need to camp. But in Hong Kong, you can enjoy both birding and the nice hotels in a single day. Then in Hong Kong now, there are many different events and activities sponsored by our government. And at last, I think birding in Hong Kong is a good getaway to our mainland China. No matter you want to go to mainland China for tourists or even for another bird watching trip, then Hong Kong is a good start for you to travel to the mainland China. And here we'll introduce more about the birding spots in Hong Kong. Especially you can see this is a map from eBird. You can see there are really different, there are really many hotspots in Hong Kong. And many birders in Hong Kong, they also use the eBird to report the records, to report what species can be seen recently. So you just download eBird and you can access to the data and check what birds can be seen recently. The first one should be the Maple Nature Reserve. I think this is the birding spot with the highest densities of species in Hong Kong. This is a wetland, and in Chinese we call gateway. This is a kind of special wetland for keeping the shrimp. And in doing the shrimp farming, they will make the water level down and dry up the ponds. Then take time when they dry the pond, they will attract many different kinds of the water birds, the shorebirds, egrets, and in winter maybe stork to come and feed. And in the Deep Bay area, it is a very large mud flat just next to Shenzhen. So the tidal flat, you can attract many different kinds of shorebirds there, like the spoonbill sandpiper, the black-faced spoonbill, and different gulls and different shorebirds in wintertime. And you can come to Maple Nature Reserve all year. In summertime, you can also see some cuckoos, like the lesser cuckoo just now I took in Maple, and also the common cuckoo. But of course, the best time to visit Maple Nature Reserve should be in winter and spring for the shorebirds. And there are also some patches of woodland. You can see flycatchers, paradise flycatchers in Maple Nature Reserve. But for one thing, when you go to the Maipo Nature Reserve, you need a permit. But how to get a permit is very easy. You can just go to the WWF Hong Kong, and then you can try to type a solo walk for overseas naturalists. Then just type in your information and give them the copy of your passport. Then you can pay online to get a permit for 1 day. If you want to go more days, then you can just apply a several 1 day pass. And here are the targets for birding in Maipo Nature Reserve, mainly for the shorebirds. Gulls. In wintertime, you can get raptors like the eagles. For the imperial gold eagle and the spotted eagle, they are quite guaranteed in wintertime. And this is the best spot for black-faced spoonbill, I think. And this another spoonbill I just mentioned, the Eurasian spoonbill, quite common in Africa, I think. But in Hong Kong, you can get really good photo opportunity in Maipo when the gateway water level is really low. They just feed on the stream left in the gateway. So you can see a winter Eurasian spoonbill with a stream here. And another one is a Tai Po Cow Nature Reserve. I think this is the largest forest reserve in Hong Kong. So you can see different kind of forest species, especially some resident species like the laughing thrush, barbara, and woodpeckers. And in wintertime, you can see mixed flock in the migration season, including different kinds of warblers, mainly the Phylloscopus warblers. Somehow they all looks like very similar. But some of the Phylloscopus warblers, they are really colorful. And if you download the call, listen the call, and then you can try to identify by the call and song. And so this is a reserve really good for all year. In summertime, you can also hear and see the barbets. We mainly have the gray barbet and the Chinese barbet, and then the woodpecker, mainly the bay woodpecker and the speckled peccary. And you don't need a permit. It is free of charge. You can just go in anytime, and it is open 24 hours. And for example, this is a praying firepecker, quite common in spring and summertime. Last time I went in May, I think, I saw maybe 2 to 3 in a single shops, and then another 2 to 3 praying firepeckers in another shops. So if you know the call, it will help you to see the forest species in Hong Kong. Then another one quite famous to Hong Kong birders, this is a Po Toi Island. It's the southern island in Hong Kong, very small one compared to the Lemma, compared to Chanzhou, or compared to the Lantau Island. But this island is really strange and special because in spring and autumn, there are many migrants or even fragrants. For example, the silver oriole, the first record of the silver oriole was recorded on Po Toi, and there are many records like Black Wester, the first common cuckoo, and other like maybe let me think. Yeah, the first square-tailed jungle cuckoo, all are record first in Po Toi. We don't know why, but maybe this island, the habitat is good, and during the migration season, birds will just stop over, and for the vagrant, they also stop over there, so it's quite good for bird watching there in spring and autumn. But in summer, because the Po Toi Island is quite small, so not many resident species on there, so I don't recommend you to go to Po Toi in summertime. But Po Toi, you better check the ferry schedule first before going there. For example, on Monday or on Wednesday, I don't think there is ferry schedule. In the past, on Friday, there is no public ferry to Po Toi too. But now, quite recently, maybe just a week ago or maybe next week, there will be Friday ferry to Po Toi. But better you need to check first. And also during the ferry trip from Hong Kong Island, yeah, the ferry is usually depart from Hong Kong Island, the southern part of the Hong Kong Island to Po Toi. And during the ferry boat trip, you can also see some seabirds in spring, like the streaked shearwater, sometimes the skua, and many terns. And for Hong Kong breeding terns, we usually have rosy tern, bridal tern, and black-necked tern. They breed near Po Toi, and the remote island in other places in Hong Kong in summertime. Then another birding spot is called the Ma Tau Wai Reservoir Playground. It is a very tiny woodland in the urban in Kowloon Peninsula, and it's just next to a MTR station called Ho Man Tin and another one called To Kwa Wan. And here is all building estates, and some are very expensive buildings there. But in this kind of tiny woodland, there are many birds in spring and autumn. And again, we don't know why, but just maybe the migrants, they saw this tiny patch of green, they will stop over for a while, then gone. For example, the fairy picture I just showed you, I took that picture here in Ho Man Tin, the Motorway Reservoir Playground, and also the blue and white flycatchers, some Narcissus flycatchers, many blue robins, and recently we have many yellow rum flycatcher, paradise flycatcher in just this very tiny woodland here. Sometimes we can also see some warblers in wintertime or in autumn time. This is a rufous-faced warbler, very cute bird, cute looking, and this is an infant species in Hong Kong. For some years, we may not record any rufous-faced warbler here, but for some years, there are many rufous-faced warbler. Like maybe in Ho Man Tin, you can have 3 to 4 birds. In Tai Po Kau, maybe you can record 20, 30 birds, but in some years there may be none, zero in everywhere in Hong Kong. So an infant species, very cute looking warbler here. Then also some common resident species like the red-billed blue magpie, and very clearly you can see the red-bill and a very long tail. This is belongs to the crow family, but very beautiful, noisy bird, and usually forage in a group, and you can take some good photos. And you don't need a long lens for the red-billed blue magpie because the long tail is really long. Then another birding spot is quite famous to Hong Kong birders. This is called the Topford Garden because this is just next to an MTR station called the Kowloon Bay MTR station. And it's just next to a shopping mall, like maybe 10-second walk from the shopping mall exit to the birding spot. It's just a very small patch of shops planted by the management office of this garden. But in autumn, you can really see many LBJs, the wheat warbler, grasshopper warblers, and they're very strange. And I think one of my friends just published a article in the journal Birding Asia talking about the Tufted Garden species, but I haven't read about that. So if you're interested, maybe you can find the journal Birding Asia to have a look of his article about the birding in Tufted Garden. So how strange, you can see these 4 photos I took in the same season, I think, in Tufted Garden. So the first one, this is the Eurasian wryneck, different to the rufous-throat wryneck in Africa, I think the name. And I didn't expect to see a woodpecker just next to a shopping mall. Then there are many different LBJs. For example, the lanceolated warbler, the Pallas's grasshopper, although they are quite common in Hong Kong, but sometimes they are quite skulking and really hard to get a photo. But because the kind of patch of grass or shrubs are so small, so you can always see the birds very clearly, and they will come out to the boundary of the small patch of shrubs, and you can get really good photos. And this one is a pesky grasshopper warblers, a vulnerable species only breed in Japan and some island in northeast China, I think. And I can't imagine I can get a full look of this species, not in other habitats, not in mangrove, not in maple. I've seen this species in maple, but very skulking. But in Duffel Garden, you can see the whole bird coming out while you are enjoying a coffee or even having lunch. Then you can get some photos of this bird. Then in Hong Kong Island, there are some birding spots. The most recommended one, I think, is the Mount Davis is the west side of the Hong Kong Island, next to the Victoria Peak. You can even walk from Mount Davis to the Victoria Peak, a very famous tourist spot. At there, I think you can find most of the birds that can be found in Hong Kong Island. This is a kind of woodland habitat. The best is winter, autumn, and spring again. In autumn time, you can see many raptors migration there for me, like blackface, the gray-faced buzzard, the Chinese bellhawk, different kinds of falcon, like the armor falcon, Eurasian hobby, common kestrel, peregrine falcon. These four falcons they can be seen in a single day in autumn time here, and also some passage migrants for the forest birds, like the blue robin again, the flycatchers again, and also for some residents like the emerald dove, they can be found easy there. In spring, also some cuckoos again, like the hawk cuckoo, the large hawk cuckoo, and the oriental cuckoo are quite easy to be found there as well. This is a black-footed laughing thrush, really common in Mount Davis. In other places, you can always hear their call and song, and they usually forage in a group. But in Mount Davis, they always come out to feed on the fallen fruits, insects, and you can have some good chance for photos. Then in wintertime, another flycatchers, the verdict flycatchers, all blue in color. And if you see the lure is black, this is a male. If the lure is blue, then it will be a female. In Hong Kong Island, especially the Mount Davis, there are many verdict flycatchers in the wintertime. Then another one is a remote island, not really remote. You can just take a 30 minutes ferry from Central to Chanzhou, and the ferry schedule is much better than to Po Toi. You can like maybe you can get a ferry for per 30 minutes at night, even at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., there are also ferry to Changzhou. But of course, you better check the schedule first. It's quite good for winter and spring for the migrants, similar to Homentin, similar to Mount Davis. But this is the best spot in Hong Kong, I think, for the brown fish owl. Especially you can enjoy your wine and seafood while watching the owls. So I have a very short video. Let me try. And yeah. I took this video just 2 weeks ago. It's right next to a seafood restaurant. You can have dinner there. Then this bird is perching on a fishing boat. Then you can just take photos, take videos, and you can have really nice look for the brown fish owl. In other places in Hong Kong, you need to go to some large rivers or some remote places. You need to take taxi, and the traffic is really bad for the brown fish owl. But in Changzhou, you can just go there. It's maybe just 3 minutes walk from the pier. Sit down, enjoy your food, then enjoy the owl. Another famous birding spot now is the Tai Lam Country Park. Very good for forest species again, like the tribal cow. But for the brownwood out there, it's more cooperative, more common in Tai Lam Country Park. In wintertime, you can see more Japanese robins here, and more robbers, more flycatchers here. But for some species, like the woodpeckers, I think typo cow may be still better. And some cuckoos also typo cow is better. So I just put two forest reserve here. If you want to look for the brownwood owl, Tai Lam Country Park is your choice. Like you can get an eye level brownwood owl in very close distance for photos. Then recently, there are many Hong Kong birders to visit the Lantau Island. There are different uh, places in Lantau Island, like this is the Fun Liao, EO, Tai O, and many people just walk from Tai O to Fun Liao and then back to Tai O. This trail is quite famous recently for different autumn migrants. Like today and yesterday, there are ferry pitters, many flycatchers, other warblers reported in this trail. And this the on ping, a big Buddhist statue there, and the silver oil I took was here. And this is the international airport, the Chap Lab Corp. And then this is also a bay. I think this is the here should be the the Silver Mine Beach, and also a place for the brown fish owl. So there are many places for you to bird in Lantau Island, but the traffic is little bit inconvenient because there is no MTR station here except Tongchung and the Disney Park, this Hong Kong Disneyland or the international airport. But for other places, you need to take maybe an hour bus drive or taxi to there. So quite inconvenient. And also for some places here, the mobile phone signal is not very good. So uh not really recommended, but I think if you receive some news and there are good birds there, definitely worth a visit. For example, I just saw the Dragon Pond Heron, the first record in Hong Kong in Shui Hao, somewhere in here, the Shui Hao here, for the fragrant here. And also for this area, the funnel tile is a good spot for Chinese white dolphin. You can take a very short ferry, maybe 20 minutes, or even you can, there are some viewing points in funnel tile for watching the Chinese white dolphin. And this one is in EO, a near threatened species or vulnerable species, a rustic buntings. You can see it quite easily there in autumn, spring, and winter time. But of course, this species can also be found in other places in Hong Kong. So EO is really inconvenient for us to go there. But if you receive some good news, then you still need to go. And here's a Dragon Pond Heron. This is the first record in Hong Kong just this year. And this is a breeding one. The pond heron in Hong Kong are usually the Chinese pond heron, the default species. But in non-breeding season, I don't think you can identify dragon, Chinese, or even Indian pond herons safely, or even the squawk heron from Africa. Uh, in the past, we have one misidentified record for squawk heron in Hong Kong, turned out to be a Chinese pond heron. But for this one, Dragon pond heron, because it was found in early summer, so you can see the breeding plumage, and this is safely identified as the first Dragon pond heron in Hong Kong. It was in Shui Hao, very remote part in Lantau Island, but I still need to go for a twitch. The last one for the birding spot I want to introduce is the Tai Mo Shan, the highest in Hong Kong. And this is better to go in late spring and summer because the birds always sing there and much cooler. For example, in summertime in Tai Mo Shan, maybe 30 or 20 something, 20 degrees. In lower part of Hong Kong, it will be over 30 degrees. And for Chinese francolin, Chinese grassbird, and another LBJ called the WhatsApp bush robber, this is the best timing for you to find in Tai Mo Shan in late spring and summertime because they always sing and you can just play back and try your luck to get one. And another LBJ, this is a brown flanked bush robber. Again, in winter time, they are still common, but very hard to see. They always forage in the bush. But in summer, in late spring, when you play, they will come to the open and you can get really good look for the brownish frank bush robber. So, final tips for birding in Hong Kong. I think maybe 3 to 5 days should be enough if you want to come to Hong Kong for birding. And better for you to combine your trip with family or make your trip as a business trip because we really don't have endemic species here. And to be honest, all the species you can find in other places in mainland China, even the migrants and the resident, and better not to come in summertime because the density is really low, the diversity is very low, but the temperature is really high. So you better combine this trip to Hong Kong with mainland China. you can just have a few days in Hong Kong, then you can continue your birding trip in maybe Sichuan, maybe in Xinjiang or Tibet. Because from Hong Kong, there are many flights to different cities in mainland China, and it's very convenient for you to go from Hong Kong airport to Shenzhen airport. In Shenzhen airport, there are even many more flights to different cities in China. Then if you come to bird watching in Hong Kong, I really don't think you need a guide here. You can just download eBird, download Merlin to check for the nail, to check for the identity, or maybe you can ask me later. So you don't need a birding guide. And also because the birding spots are so convenient, you can just go there by public transportation, by MTR, or even by taxi. You don't need to rent a car because sometimes, especially the rushing hour in Hong Kong, there are many traffic jam, and you just take the MTR, the train is already enough for you to go to different birding spots, combined with the taxi or minibus. And the currency here, just a gentle reminder should be the currency here is Hong Kong dollars, but many places also accept renminbi, so you can just change your dollars to renminbi. Then you can also go to the mainland China. But in mainland China, they always accept the e-payment, like in Hong Kong, by credit card, by different apps. And this is a critically endangered species, the yellow-crested cockatoo. Is quite strange status in Hong Kong. It is an endemic species in Indonesia. But I think after the World War II, they were introduced to Hong Kong Island, and they can be found quite many different places in Hong Kong Island, like Hong Kong Park, Central, the Mount Davis I just mentioned, and sometimes even in Kowloon. And I heard from my Indonesian friend Caleb and Boas, and they said it's quite hard for you to see a yellow-crested cockatoo in Indonesia, in fact, and always very hard to get nice photo. But in Hong Kong, you can get really nice pictures, but this is an introduced species, so you can just judge whether you will count this species on your live list. And finally, some useful apps I recommend, like the eBird, Merlin, Google Map, and one called the Open Rice. You can use this app to search for different restaurant, different food in Hong Kong. You can even do the booking there, and English is available there. And you can try the city bus, the KMB, MTL, the top three. You can check all the schedule for the train, for the bus, or even for the minibus. The the three apps down below just for the Lantau Island, and this one I seldomly use, so maybe the top three are already enough. Field guide, I think there are many different books about birds in Hong Kong, surprisingly, but I use the Birds of China one because this guide is a recent published one. You can know the latest taxonomy change, and this is a very convenient book for me to go back to mainland China. And even this one is workable in Taiwan. And for language in Hong Kong, for bird watching or tourists in Hong Kong, you can mainly in Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, and English. So should be no problem for you guys to come to Hong Kong. And finally, this is a great cormorant, a very common bird in wintertime in Maipo. Sometimes you can see maybe 10,000, 20,000 in a day. Okay, thank you very much for giving me a chance to share more about the birding in Hong Kong. And if you want, you can just add my Facebook here or my IG here, or you can also check my eBird profile, email, or WhatsApp me anytime for getting more info in Hong Kong, or even you can find me as a birding pal in Hong Kong. I'm not a bird watching guy, so you can just come with me in Hong Kong, maybe pay me a beer, and then we can just bird watching together anywhere in Hong Kong. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Chun Fai. Very, very interesting presentation. Really appreciate that. You definitely got me wanting to go back to Hong Kong now and do something besides work. Right. So, are there any questions in the chat? David Fielder is asking, can eBird be accessed from mainland China?
Oh, surprisingly, in fact, yes. there are many Chinese birders post the eBird checklist on eBird, but they have another platform mainly for Chinese people to use in mainland China. But in Hong Kong, you don't need to worry. Many Hong Kong birders, they just put their list on eBird. But for one minor thing, if you use the eBird in mainland China, the GPS system I think is a little bit weird. I tried it many times. The GPS when you use the eBird for record the route you went for bird watching, is not quite accurate if you send out the list that moment. But if you just record and leave it alone, and then you just go back and do the location at your desktop, then will be no problem, because I think China is not supporting Google Map, and it has its own mapping system. But on desktop, there should be no such problem. It's quite weird for the GPS in eBird in mainland China, but it's okay when you come to Hong Kong.
And then David's also asking, are there organized birding trips that avoid the need for someone to visit the habitats on their own?
Are there organized birding? Yeah, of course. I have some friends also guide foreigners or even some mainlanders for bird watching, but I know maybe quite expensive. And for some company, I think maybe some mainland China companies or even Hong Kong's company, they often offer some uh, wildlife watching trips in Hong Kong, maybe together with the Chinese white dolphin, the fireflies or other mammals, and a combined trip in Hong Kong. But for mainly focus on bird watching, there are not many choices for you in Hong Kong, I think. But if you want, I can just recommend my friends to you, and they can be your bird watching guide specific.
I think that's all the questions. There are lots of nice comments
Oh,
about
thank
your
you.
great photos and nice presentation and how you're stimulating people to want to go to Hong Kong. So
Yeah. Yeah, just come, enjoy the food, enjoy the cultures here. To be honest, Hong Kong now is quite safe compared to few years ago. Maybe you all know some political riots, events, but now it's really safe, and the birds are also coming back, I think. I don't know why. For this year, it's quite good for flycatchers, for robins, especially the paradise flycatchers I've seen in many different places. So maybe you can try to book your tickets and come
mm.
soon.
I mean, I just on in the entire time that I've been going to Hong Kong, I've never felt safer anywhere in the world. I mean, I'm quite happy to walk anywhere in Hong Kong at any time of the day or night. It's a pretty safe place.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Chun Fai. This was really great, and we're definitely going to hit you up next year for one of your
Okay.
other trips, one or two of your other trips.
I'm still organizing my list and my photos for the Colombia trip combined with the US one.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I will try my best.
cool. Now, man, go get some sleep.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
All
I
right.
live.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
Thank you.
attending. We'll see you next month.